Let's start it off immediately with a video from Obsidian Ant, and it's called "Lessons from Elite Dangerous: Why a live service games fail." So let's watch this. This should be a good video.
Whether you're a fan of multiplayer games or single-player games, it's very likely you've tried your hand at live service titles in the past, and it certainly won't have escaped your attention that numerous titles in recent weeks and recent months have dramatically failed. This then brings up a rather interesting question. Why is it that Elite Dangerous manages to keep on going despite other games with significantly more funding are falling down left, right and centre? Well, there are numerous reasons for that.
Are they though? I'm not sure.
In this video.
I'm not sure what he's talking about.
Now, the game has been around for close to a decade at this point, and during that time has managed to maintain a steady player base, and that's despite facing significant obstacles such as Odyssey, one of its major expansions, which was, yes, a spectacular failure, but Frontier have managed to hold the ship together. Now, what sets Elite Dangerous apart from other live service titles? Why has it continued to succeed during this time period, whilst other games, ones which with significantly more money, have indeed failed? Well, surprise, surprise, this all comes down to the nature of live service titles themselves. The market has become overbloated and oversaturated as developers and publishers alike chase the next big thing. We saw this happen in the past with World of Warcraft. It arrived on the market in a massive storm.
Elite Dangerous is on live support. I mean, every time I'm streaming, somebody asks me, why don't I play Elite Dangerous? I think Revengex wanted me to play it, and he wanted to make me an account or send me something. I'm not sure, so I don't know.
And everyone and their aunt wanted to make a clone of that game. They all wanted to jump on the MMORPG bandwagon. And unfortunately, the same has now happened with the live service bandwagon. Yeah, there is another bandwagon there trundling along, and the wheels seem to be falling off. Although, quite naturally, it should be pointed out that the heavy hitters that have been around for a very long time, the likes of Fortnite and Counter-Strike, are still working very, very well. It's the games that are, generally speaking, newer arrivals and trying to fit into a crowded market that really are having a problem. And this is where it seems titles like Elite Dangerous really do stand out. So let's take a look at a few of those reasons why Elite does indeed stand out in this crowded market. Let's start with the fact that it is a niche title. Many of the people jumping on the live service bandwagon are looking for massive volumes of player numbers. Frontier never sought that with Elite. In fact, it would be highly unlikely they could ever achieve that. Instead, they focus.
It's a niche game market. Like space games are just especially MMOs like Star Citizen, Elite Dangerous, etc. Not many people are going to play that.
Work. A space game set within a vast universe upon which.
Although that might change in the future because the generations that grew up on Star Wars are their 30s now, or there are a lot of generations that grew up on Star Wars, Star Trek, and all that. So with the revamp or the re-release of Star Wars and the new chapters or episodes and all the expanse and all that shit, that might spark an interest in the broader community to play space games.
Players could have at least a semblance of impact. It's a premise that won't attract the numbers of Fortnite, but nonetheless, it's also a premise that has maintained.
So wait, what you're saying in the chat is that Thargoids, which are NPC, aliens that were basically just implemented a year ago or 2 years ago, are taking over systems, and people can't really fight them. So is Frontier trying to kill their own game? What's happening there?
Maintained a decent number of players over the years. In fact, somewhat ironically, the largest misstep that Frontier made regarding Elite Dangerous was the release of Odyssey, which they seemingly aimed at the larger crowd, trying to attract in the FPS crowd. And it should have been obvious really to anyone that the FPS crowd are not going to be interested in a niche space game. Unfortunately, it was a misstep which did negatively impact the reputation of Elite for a lot of the players, and it's something which has taken Frontier a very long time to recover from. But nonetheless, here we are today in 2023, and in general, from what we can see of player numbers at least, they seem to be remaining steady. The first lesson that Elite Dangerous teaches the live service market then here is know your niche and stick to your market. Moving on to a really big issue for live service titles is of course the subject, the gritter in the room, monetization. Macrotransactions in some cases are a really big deal and a significant turnoff for many players. Now, despite games like Fortnite raking in billions of dollars from microtransactions, not every single live service game is going to be able to do that. However, that doesn't stop publishers and developers from trying. Numerous games over recent years have put in some really nasty and predatory microtransactions in the form of unsavory loot boxes and other problematic ideas, essentially trying to take every little penny that the players have, milk them for everything they're worth in short. Now, in almost every single case, this has massively backfired.
Wait, is this like a player-owned ship? Is this like an Odyssey? Not an Odyssey, the Endeavor, with like farming, and it has like the rotating ship.
Everything they're worth in short. Now, in almost every single case, this has massively.
I guess this is like a space station
for the games in question. Elite Dangerous, meanwhile, takes a slightly different approach. Okay. And this one is generally a little easier on the players. What Elite does is monetize cosmetics, colorations for your ship, for your equipment, for your spacesuits, and all that lovely stuff. This is in a direct opposition to the idea of monetizing gameplay and incentivizing purchasing things through grindy and difficult gameplay. This is a form of monetization that Frontier have always avoided with Elite Dangerous, despite what could quite easily be seen as the temptations to jump into that. But of course, this means that Elite Dangerous doesn't rake in billions of dollars, it doesn't rake in hundreds of millions of dollars, and likely also doesn't rake in tens of millions of dollars.
Do they have their like financials available to the people? To like the community
every single year,
like expenses and income.
Can do this. They have a different target market, but also they are an overcrowded and oversaturated market. So this particular lesson ties into the first, know your niche. Second, don't squeeze that niche, that market, for every penny that it's worth. Show some respect, and likely players will make.
Maybe Star Citizen should like learn something from this, from like what Obsidian Art just said.
For every penny that it's worth, show some respect, and likely players will make the purchase. Moving on to gameplay. This, specifically for me personally, is an area where I have really big issues when it comes to live service titles. Live service games, by their very nature, tend to be grindy.
Dude, I'm coughing like a motherfucker.
Within the gaming communities,
I don't know why.
I've seen this in the Elite Dangerous community a lot, will tell you that the idea of grindy gameplay is a state of mind. Whilst it's true that grindy gameplay can be a state of mind, it is a fact that objectively grindy gameplay does exist, and this is backed up.
You know what? There's a difference between grinding and enjoying the road, basically, the thing that you're doing. So grinding, in essence, is, for me at least, is just like doing stuff over and over just to get some money. So in Star Citizen, that will be just like doing the ERTs over and over and over and over just to get like enough money so you can buy another ship, a better ship, whatever. What's up? Serenity? Oh, Serenity Noob. I can barely see from here. But the issue is that good games fix that by giving you like different stuff, like variety in their games. Like if you have variety and you can grind with that variety, that's fine. But if you have only one thing that's like, for example, ERTs in Star Citizen, because yes, you can go and do mining. Yes, you can do box missions or whatever. But the only thing that's actually profitable there and that doesn't really take that much time, like mining, for example, because for mining, you'll need to like scout out for like half an hour, maybe 10 minutes or half an hour. Doesn't matter. Then you're gonna find a rock, then you're gonna like mine it, and then you gotta refine it, and you gotta wait for a day to get like some money from it. And with ERTs, you just like jump around the place and destroy ships, and that's it. And if you die, it's not that bad. So that's like the way to grind in Star Citizen, and that has been the way to grind for a while now. And instead of giving us like actual variety, they are like making other stuff even like harder to do at this point, which is like a pain in the ass. Yes, you can do salvage now, you can do a bunch of things, but if a game is done right, you will have a lot of things to do which you can use to grind, but you're going to enjoy it because you're going to do like different stuff every time. But with Star Citizen, and from what I've heard, it's the same in Elite Dangerous, or even worse because you got to grind more. You just like do the same stuff over and over again, and it's boring as fuck.
By Frontier themselves, as you can see in forum posts. They talk here, for example,
this is why I hope Star Citizen really focuses on long quest lines with multiple outcomes like they're planning. I'm not sure that they're gonna do that. Like the only way you can do that is because you gotta look at the scale, and you can't really. Yeah, maybe they're gonna add a mission, 2 missions, 5 missions, 10 missions that are gonna be like that, like quest lines. But the only like multiple outcomes and like the only thing that you can get that's gonna give you that is gonna be like player interaction. And that's what Star Citizen is currently focusing on, because they don't really wanna, well, from what I see, they're not focusing that much on like developing PvE content. Yes, we have events, but most of the like previous couple of patches and like the last year, it was like just like adding more and more stuff that you can use for PvP, or that that's gonna help you PvP, or that's gonna make people go into a certain area so they can PvP, because that's gonna make him content. That's like just the easy route, right? And I don't know if that's gonna change. I don't even know if that needs to change. That's cool to have, and that's cool to be the main driver of the game. But instead of making us go to Korea, for example, and fight so we can clear our crime stat and fight fucking the whole server so you can clear your crime stat, maybe give us an incentive to go there. And when I'm saying an incentive, the incentive is not to clear your fucking crime stat, because you have a crime stat, it's bad, and you know that like the worst is coming because you're gonna go to Korea, and you're probably gonna get shot there, and then you're gonna go to Klesher, and I'm talking about 318 now, and then you're gonna go to Klesher, and now with the Klesher and the inventory drops and all of that, somebody's gonna stab you there. Like Klesher is gonna be overpopulated, not really overpopulated, but there's gonna be much more people in Klesher, like compared to what we have right now in 317, and they're gonna fight, they're gonna steal your shit, and like that's not incentive. Incentive would be like, you do this, you PvP for whatever reason, and then like you realize that the reason is, or there is a reason behind that, because you're gonna get a lot of loot, you're gonna get like Jump Town, but also player habs. Like player habs are gonna be the main incentive for people to like PvP. They're gonna PvP over player habs and to like loot stuff from player habs. But that's not coming anytime soon.
Engineer grind, something that they felt...
I'm good, thank you, Serenity.
They were going to jump into at some point and try and fix, but unfortunately they have never gotten around to that. But that said, they have shown an awareness that their game can be grindy, and over the years have shown a willingness to alleviate that grind. Grind is a very problematic issue when it comes to live service titles. By their very nature, they are filled with it. Take Warframe for example. This is a highly respected title, a highly respected game, a well-loved live service title, but it is full of tons and tons of grindy, repetitive gameplay through which players have to partake in repetitive game loops just to unlock specific content. This subject actually ties into a broader subject that I'd like to talk about in the future, a bit too large for this particular video, and that is the very nature of the change in gameplay ideas. The idea that games have moved away from skill towards, well, repetitive, grindy gameplay.
Not gonna lie, the sun looks amazing in Elite Dangerous.
Unlocks. The massive success of titles such as Elden Ring really do highlight that players still drive and strive for skill-based gameplay. But that's just not the nature of live service games. Their focus is far narrower. So with that in mind, has Elite done something right here where other titles have gone wrong? This one is a little tricky.
You can scoop fuel off the sun, amazing.
Elite, unfortunately, is known
I've heard that mining in Elite Dangerous is really good.
as an extremely grindy game.
Like, it's much more in depth than in Star Citizen.
It takes an immense amount of time to work through the engineer's process, the process by which you improve your spaceships. Equally, the process to improve and unlock a variety of different upgrades for your spacesuits down on surfaces in Odyssey is equally as challenging and equally as overwhelming. It's an area where the game just doesn't excel at. But again, Frontier have done something right here by limiting and focusing that particular grind-based gameplay. When we step back and look at other live service titles, we can see they are full of battle passes, multiple seasons worth of unlocks, and unending new content. You can just never reach the end. This is where Frontier get things right by simply limiting Elite's focus. Frontier here could have opted for battle pass style systems and other similar things. They could have gone for unending unlocks where every few months they release something new. Warframe comes to mind, but as do many other games out there. In short then, Elite Dangerous may be grindy, but its focus is, well, pretty much laser focused. Overall then, I do feel that Frontier have done a pretty good job when it comes to maintaining a live service title. They know their niche and have managed to maintain the current players. Player retention when it comes to live service games is largely what it's all about.
Breaking asteroids in Elite to mine them is one of the coolest shit ever. Yeah, I've heard that also, like, core mining, is that a thing? Is that what you're talking about? Like, you gotta probe the core of the asteroid first, and then you gotta split it, and then you're gonna mine?
Players who stick around for a prolonged time are much more likely to spend money on your game. That doesn't mean that Frontier have got things down pat and that everything is good. Elite Dangerous still faces some potential challenges along the way, one of the most significant of which, in my personal opinion,
you can link it, Snuggleware.
is content. Now, content has always been a sticky issue.
I want to check it out. I never saw it.
With live service games, players generally expect a rapid delivery of brand new content and want to see it at a regular cadence. What's more, not only...
Yeah, that's the issue with live service games. You have a live service game, and people are expecting you to update it on a daily basis. Well, not a daily, but like at least quarterly basis. Some of them want, well, like go to like not go, but like some titles are updated on like 6 months basis. But if it's lacking with updates, and if the updates themselves are not what was promised or what the community thought it would be, and I'm talking about Odyssey because a lot of people were fucking pissed off because you couldn't like walk around the ships and all that. So yeah, it's the same with Star Citizen. The past year, basically almost a whole fucking year, because 3.17 got released in April last year. And it's March of this year, and we're still in 3.17. Like, it is live service, but also, like, what are you doing?
You need to, players want to see the new content.
We want, and like, in the end, yes, PS is a huge update, but is it that big that like it was worth to wait for like a year to get it? I'm not sure.
So want to hear about what's coming next. Some live service games, for example the Microsoft Flight Simulator, are exceptional at delivering their roadmaps. At any given moment, players know what the next update is, and they also have a broad outline of what to expect for the coming year.
Do they deliver on all their promises?
Elite Dangerous, by contrast, merely lets players know that there are...
No, I'm pretty sure they're gonna like push out 318 to live like by the end of next week. I'm pretty sure, because I'm also pretty sure like you can see that they're only like fixing the crashes to desktop at this point, and like 30Ks, and that's it. So they're gonna push it out in like whatever state that it is right now. I've got reports from people that are like that they were on a server for like that was like live for like 2 or 3 days, and that servers like those servers will be janky as fuck because of PES. So I can't wait to see what's going to happen with the PU, honestly.
Future updates. For example, in this case, Update 15 is coming at the end of April, and Update 16 is coming later in the year. But beyond that, Frontier revealed absolutely no information.
And yeah, the known issue list is ever growing. It's amazing.
In comparison to the broader live service industry.
And yeah, the sales are coming. First of all, they're going to release the Scorpius, the Antares with 318, and then with 319, we're probably going to get the Hull C. And yeah, like Invictus is going to happen, and yeah, it needs to be released now.
Genre, this really is an extremely unusual way to manage things. That said, over the recent year or so, Frontier have made some...
Which game is this? This is Elite Dangerous.
Semi-regular content releases and their ongoing Thargoid narrative, which is what the developers term their curated content releases, their curated story. Ultimately then, Elite Dangerous does seem to have a release schedule, but I do see this as a potential massive challenge for the years and times ahead for Elite. The game then does manage to stand out amongst a oversaturated and overbloated market. The live service...
They need to update the graphics engine. Like, they need to redo the whole fucking graphics engine, honestly. If they want to continue, if they want this game to, like, live for the next 10 years, this is not good. This is not, like...
good games out there, but generally the good ones are the heavy hitters. And the market is being swamped by...
Even Star Citizen is growing old now.
A lot of clones that are just trying to...
It doesn't look as good. Like, compared to Sons of the Forest that we played yesterday, Star Citizen, like, doesn't look that good.
Well, overgrind make players play for nothing. It's far from what a game should be. Ultimately then, there's a very strong case to be made that Elite Dangerous is certainly a good live service title. That, of course, brings us on to another entirely related subject. Is Elite a good game? It might be a good live service title, but is it a good or is it a bad game? This is a broader subject and something I'd like to discuss in a future video. Meanwhile, do let me know your thoughts and feelings about Elite
as a good video
service title in the comments section.
As I thought,
below.
it's a good video.
I'd love to hear from you. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys.
Sons of the Forest is fucking amazing. Yeah, this was Obsidian Art. It's a really good video. Let me share it with you guys.